It's time to get practical, beyond the hype, and get stuff done. I'm going to cover three top challenges that face every organization today, which cannot be ignored, and in 2018 will need to be addressed. My name is Todd DeCapua. I wanted to go ahead and share this discussion with you, which I first had the opportunity to present to my peers. We were the 15 top performance engineers in the world got together at something called the Performance Advisory Council. So as we think about it's time to get practical, time to get beyond the hype, time to get some stuff done, I wanted to go ahead and pull up this quick Venn diagram and gain some alignment. So as you've probably thought about these types of things before, again, the way that I normally think about the world is through performance, security, and functionality, focusing on results. For this conversation, we're going to be focusing on performance and being able to get stuff done. So from an agenda perspective, here's some points that I've laid out. As you can see, starting off with, I am sick of the hype. So the three top challenges for 2018 that we will be covering today, I feel like a lot of organizations, a lot of other firms, and um, you know others in the industry have really just hyped this up. So I think it's time that we get beyond the hype. We talk about these challenges, and I want to share some of the experiences that I've had and the opportunity in actually doing these things. And not just in the last year, but these are things that throughout my career, across hundreds of organizations, I've had the opportunity to work in and be able to write about, research, and speak about recently as well. So we're going to take a look at each of these three top challenges for 2018, starting off with big data, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, then covering blockchain, and lastly with the Internet of Things. We will be taking a closer look at each one of these, and the way that I've structured the conversation is we'll start off with an introduction, then we'll go into a deep dive, and then focusing on the future and some of the how-tos from a very practical perspective, and really getting you thinking about the right questions to ask and to reflect on, not only in your organization but in your career as you move forward in the coming year and years. Then we'll wrap up with a quick summary, talk about some takeaways, and look at some next steps and timing. The third topic that I think is a big challenge for 2018, and had the opportunity again to share this with the Performance Advisory Council, is around IoT, or the Internet of Things. Again, when you define this for people, it means many different things. This illustration, I think, does a great job of representing many of the elements of IoT and what it means. I also had found this definition that IoT refers to the connection of devices to the internet. So things like cars, kitchen appliances, and even heart monitors can all be connected through IoT. And the Internet of Things grows in the next few years. More devices will join that list. So again, this illustration showing how things like a stadium within the smart city, things like the smart hospital, smart highways, smart factories, all connecting across a variety of different types of networks and communications, um, even interacting and exchanging data, and probably being stored within cloud and cloud-based services and a variety of different platforms. But again, all of this representing Internet of Things, and why this is such a huge challenge in 2018. So that's just the introduction. As we go into a bit more of a deep dive, and again, pulling on some more of this practical experience, what are the things that we should care about? So, as you think of the Internet of Things, as you think about things like Copenhagen Smart City, what were those things that they cared about? Why did Copenhagen want to bring a smart city? Where is it that they got it implemented? They've got sensors. They're feeding back all types of data. It's benefiting the public, making it safer. But where are they going next? How is it that they're making this a virtual world? How are they making it a more interactive world for you to be in? How is it that things like machine learning and AI will also interact with IoT? Um, and again, that's kind of getting into the second point here. How are things interacting with other things? When do they, and how much? So again, many of us do carry a mobile phone. Many of us have other smart devices on our person. They're all interacting together. The other thing is, as you're driving your car down the street, maybe the street lamps are interacting with your vehicle, making for smart highways. But when are they communicating? How often are they communicating? What are they communicating? Recently heard someone else speaking about data privacy in your automobile, and what do they have? What do people have the right from a data perspective to have, and what do you have the right to have? So again, thinking about data privacy also introduces some very interesting challenges, specifically around IoT. When do things cause too much data and too much traffic? And why does it matter? So, again, as I reflected on this in preparation, you know, you have a limit on the amount of data that can be sent from your mobile device per month, as an example. What happens when that increases? How about from your car? Um, how about limitations from networks that might be on the edge of, a city? Things that might be in other locations that are less accessible. As I'm thinking about it, I've got a good friend who's got a heart monitor that's embedded within his body. And again, what is it when that sends a lot of data? Does it get warm? Does it start to do other adverse things? There is a battery in there. Well, how does that all work when it's in his body? And what happens if that were to get hot? What happens if that were to do other, not so favorable things? So again, why does it matter? Well, maybe that's some reasons why this matter. What does the future of things look like? So we've seen how things like microwaves, refrigerators, everything else getting smart around us. We've also seen how things like DDoS attacks will start to leverage these devices to, start sending massive amounts of data and transactions to go ahead and take down networks or entire sections of geography to basically, just take the internet away altogether. But what does the future of things look like? Again, being able to capture different data sets, or having sensors that are going to be sending sets of data, having machines talking to machines based on the Internet of Things, enabling us to maybe make more important decisions while other decisions are being made for us. Again, it's a little bit gray, but again, these are some of the conversations that, as I observe what's happening within Internet of Things, as I look at some of the challenges that we are all going to be facing here in 2018. These are some of the things that we can solve this year. There's going to be other things that we're going to be solving in the future, well beyond this year. The last question here is: are there new things, business models for companies bring? So again, knowing that we have this Internet of Things, think about your business model. Think about the Internet of Things. Think about the sensors. Think about the data. What are those new business models? I don't want to revisit things like Uber or Netflix or any of those things. They've been significantly overplayed, but those are representative examples of where a business model has been created as a result of the internet, as a result of Internet of Things, as a result of mobile applications. But again, think about your business. Think about what new business models based on the Internet of Things might be available. Or what type of innovation could you experiment with to see just how far you could push a new product, a new service, whatever that might be for a existing customer or maybe a new customer? Are you asking your customers what they want? Are you kind of pushing the edge a little bit with some of your capabilities and the value propositions to your customers and asking them for their feedback? How about your partners? Again, all of these become very interesting points to think about. These 5 bullets in the deep dive here of the Internet of Things. So as we look at the future and the how-tos, again, you will see some research that I had found from 451 research on the left-hand side. This really talking about how and where some of these IoT devices are sitting. Also, some of the ways that they interact and some of the key elements that perhaps you're already leveraging today or you will be in the near future. But as we look at the core capabilities or the core technology functions, and then kind of that middle piece, which is the near edge, and then all the way out on the edge being at the bottom, you can look at things in smart business, and in this illustration, they're showing smart trucks. What does that mean? Yes, they're all the way out on the edge. They're communicating with a variety of other near edge solutions, and those tie into your core as well. What are some of those business outcomes that you're looking at? How does it do that? Well, that's where we get into the bottom part of this table with the biosensing, machine sensing and controls, as well as the environmental sensing. So again, thinking about these smart trucks as a thing out on the edge, you know, well, what type of biosensing? Well, maybe you still have a driver that's in the truck. Do they have things that are going to sense? Are they getting tired? Are they perspiring more? Are they, um, their heart rate elevated? Are they nodding off like they might be tired? You know, but these would be different biosensing capabilities that could be embedded on the edge within this smart thing, to go ahead and benefit your business and your customers. Machine sensing and controls. Again, we've seen a lot of this today, but you can see in the what area, the location, the temperature, the power consumption, all of these things. Very easy to think through that smart business or that smart truck out on the edge, and how that is or could be leveraged in the future, and why that would be important to you. Also, environmental sensing. What's going on around that truck? Is there heavy traffic? Is there weather? Are there other adverse conditions that are going to be impacting that smart thing out on the edge? So again, this was looking at the IoT taxonomy, some research that was done by 451. You can see a link at the bottom to learn more about that research. Some of the how-tos that I've listed out here talk about focusing on the components. So breaking each one of these down, building it, testing it, validating it, and verifying it all as a component first. Being able to recreate each of those components accurately. Again, whether they're core, near edge, or edge, again, how is it we can recreate these? Because again, doing it at scale becomes a whole nother challenge. But let's start focusing on those components. Let's recreate them accurately. Then let's verify the things. How many are we planning on? Where are they going to be? What are they going to be doing? How are they going to be communicating? You know, Gets into the next piece, ensuring the network conditions. Again, if we're expecting any type of communication from these things, we need to verify and validate that yes, in fact, there's going to be a network there. We've seen how on things like aircraft, not only do you have a primary, but you better have a secondary, and you may actually have a tertiary communications or network that you're communicating over. Because again, if the one fails, you need to have at least a backup, and maybe a backup to that as well. Offline conditions and results. So let's assume, or let's not assume, let's plan that for some reason, if we go offline, what is it that we want that sensor to do? Again, thinking about what's on the left here, so from the 451 research perspective, from a biosensing perspective, what if one of these sensors stops working on the driver and we can no longer capture their heart rate? Well, what should we do? Do we need to alert somebody that we're no longer sensing a heart rate on that driver? Um, Again, thinking through that scenario becomes critical, because again, what do you do? What do you want the systems to do? Could be something as simple as the network's dropped. It could be something as not so simple as you've got some very bad things happening to your driver in the truck. But what is it that if offline, conditions exist and you're not getting those results, what do you want the system to do? Also thinking about the security of things. This is a huge area that, not only do I think about performance, obviously, and functionality, but, security is a big deal. But what if somebody were to hack your thing? What if they were to leverage that in a way that now the data that's being sent might have something more than just the normal data that you're expecting, but some other nested bits that might be coming across with it as well, getting into the bigger system. So again, these are some of the future and the how-to items that as I think of IoT, providing you with the opportunity to think about these and be prepared as you look into the future, not only to solve right now, but again, as we're all kind of moving through 2018. So there was one other element that hit me, and I think you'll see links here to a number of different elements. You know, a lot of people want to know, how do I get started immediately? So I wanted to create an easy way for you to get started with some IoT testing activities. All of this is commercial, off-the-shelf products. They've been uh, made available via, as you can see, LoadRunner Community Edition. You can click on that link, download it. You get 50 virtual users, nearly all protocols for the rest of your life. And this being a commercially available product, but all free to you. Also, there's a new protocol, or fairly new protocol, that was made available for enabling easier testing around IoT devices. That's the download link, and then the video is specifically how do you download it, how do you configure it, and how do you start running tests. So again, this is a very easy way that you could get started right now in testing for IoT, all free, available, and with the videos to go with it to show you how to do it, even factoring in the variety of network conditions. You can see where each of the pieces come into play. So if you have the cloud, you've got the network, you've got the thing, and then as you think about the world, these are some of those other elements that need to be factored in and can be as you would go ahead and test for them. Again, this is a very quick and easy way for you to get started around performance testing. We've spoken a lot about the network. There's a lot of different ways that you can recreate the network. Um, one of the other ways that people do this in pre-production environments are through appliances. Um, so Apposite Technologies, you can see the URL here on this slide, but they've got a number of different ways to help you to be able to recreate these network conditions. As you can see, these advanced emulators for very complex network topologies is what Apposite Technologies does. You can see all the different bits here as far as the 15 separate profiles per emulation engine, being able to handle multiple independent emulation engines, being able to recreate a variety of different speeds of links. Um, Actually, I know that they're working on even faster links right now. Advanced link modeling, enabling paths to emulate bandwidth, delays, and jitter, as well as loss. Also being able to bring in QoS as well as background utilization of the network. So again, a lot of different elements here, but as you've heard me talk about big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence, blockchain, IoT, all of these big challenges that we're all facing here in 2018, the network plays a fairly significant role. And as you think about building and overcoming these challenges, you really need to consider, how am I doing this? So again, wanted to just introduce Apposite Technologies, tell you about their capabilities. You can go out and understand a little bit more about the value. But with all three of the challenges that we've spoken about for 2018, the network plays a critical role. It's absolutely something that you need to think about. So from a summary and takeaway perspective, I'm interested in continuing a conversation. I know that the 15 of us that were in Scotland together are continuing this discussion. You will see me on social media quite active there. And I do know that we're going to have a number of blogs coming out covering this topic as well as many others that we covered within our Performance Advisory Council. So I would encourage you to stay tuned for that. There's also some other resources that I wanted to make you aware of and make available to you. There's a few different ways that you can do that. So again, here's my email address on my Gmail, which is appperfeng@gmail.com. Also, my Twitter handle is @appperfeng. And then lastly, if you go to Effective Performance Engineering, Shane Evans and I had the opportunity to co-author a book titled Effective Performance Engineering with O'Reilly. It was published in June of 2016. And O'Reilly has given us the opportunity to provide copies of this electronically for free in 3 different electronic versions. So again, if you go to effectiveperformanceengineering.com, simply click on Get the Book, click on the O'Reilly link, and you'll be able to download it in any one of 3 electronic formats for absolute free to be able to read through that book and understand some additional concepts related to effective performance engineering. So again, as we've reviewed these 3 challenges for 2018, starting off with big data, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, then moving into the fun of blockchain and what it means and some really critical elements to think about, and then finishing off with the Internet of Things, or IoT, and all the opportunities that I think exist there. All 3 of these are very exciting topics for myself, as I'm sure they are for you as well. And my big goal here is to really just put these ideas out here, put some of my learnings and experience out there so that you might be able to pick up on a few of them, learn from them, and then also share with others. Again, my name is Todd DiCaprio. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to share this with you tonight, and hopefully have an opportunity to review it. Let me know what you think. Give me the feedback um, out on Twitter, or if you want to drop me an email, that's there as well. Thanks again. Bye.